Hello, and welcome to part one of a three-part series of human design, all things. This one is going to be around health and sleep and stress, and just understanding how each and every one of us on this call and out there in the world is experiencing life differently, and you're really going to come to understand that more and more and more as you learn more about your human design. Now, I know there are some people on this call that are very well versed in human design, which is great to see you here. I've got some of my students as well, which is wonderful, and I'm probably got some new faces too. Mel's got her certificate. So I do a human design certification course for people who are wanting to bring human design into their business. And Mel is one of those who graduated in my last round. So yeah, how exciting. But today we're going to be talking about all things health. And so for those who don't know, my name is Hayley Weezy. I've been working in the health, fitness and wellness industry for, I would say, 20 years. I'm not that old, but I just started really, really young. In fact, I first studied nutrition when I was 17. So I've been really engaged in this field for a long, long time. And as I've gotten older and as I became a mother, I got more and more layers into my experience. And because of my human design, I think now realizing I'm a 1-3 profile, and what that means as you learn more and more and more about this beautiful modality is that I learn through experience. And so yes, I love to learn through books too. So I've got stacks of books like this, but then I also have to go out and experience them in real life to make sure that they're actually accurate, right? And so when you come into the I Am Academy or any of the courses or trainings that I do, be it free or paid, I do ensure that what I teach is learned through personal experience and not just regurgitated from a book. So I want to make sure that when you leave anything that I'm teaching you, that you can actually apply it in real life and not just go, wow, that's really cool. Now what do I do with it? You know, so I want to make sure that you know what to do with it. That's really the main goal here. So I've got a small presentation for us today, which is going to be fun. It's just going to keep me on track and stop me waffling a little bit too much. I've got some in there so you can be interactive throughout this whole course, this whole class. And of course, if you're watching the replay, please just reply or comment or reply to the email that you got sent the replay on. Mel is always learning something from me. Oh, you're a sweetheart, because I'm always learning something from you too. And yeah, let's dive in. So I've also got the opportunity for those who do some hot seat training, because I think that is the best way, particularly those who are new to human design, can just see what's available here for them. You know, like, is this actually something I want to spend my time on, right? Like, is this something that I want to invest my money on to go and buy the books or do some trainings or some courses and things like that, right? And so I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into, because it's pretty freaking awesome. Okay, so can everyone see that okay? Yes. Okay, awesome. So today we are going to learn a little bit about sleep and stress, because I feel like when I'm in a group teaching setting, I can't go into the nuances of every single chart, but I feel like these areas in particular, I can really guide you if you do have your human design chart in front of you. If you don't have your human design chart, it doesn't matter, because this information is going to be relevant to you regardless, because I've been teaching this stuff for years before I even started integrating human design into my life, and it's still just as relevant. So you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. You're also going to have some tips and things to how to improve this naturally. So I'm going to talk a little bit about essential oils as well, and we'll cover mindset stuff and anything else that comes up too that I can tap into my tool belt of wisdom for you. So as I mentioned, this is a 3-part series. So today or tonight, depending on what part of the world you are in, we are in the physical and emotional health side of integrating human design into our life. This time next week, we're going to go into parent and relationships. So this is going to be really looking at the people that we love in our life and how our design, this is prominently going to be human design, interacts with theirs and them in with us. And so even if you don't have children, it's going to be very beneficial for any relationship, including the relationship that you have with your parents, or some healing there around conditioning and things maybe. And then in 2 weeks' time, we're actually going to go into business and personal development side of human design, which is just my jam. So yeah, definitely look out for that one. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so the first thing I want to say for those who are maybe new to any of my online trainings, or just human design in general, or personal development in general, don't be afraid you don't need to be afraid of who you are on the inside. I think sometimes we put up walls and we put up facades on, you know, things that we don't feel like are okay to express, or that we feel like have been shut down within us from a really young age, that was not okay to do. And what human design has given me is a huge amount of permission to go, oh no, that's actually just who I am, and that's okay, and this is the best way to express that. Yes, sometimes there are shadow work and there's conditioning in there that we can dig out, but at the end of the day, let's not be afraid of who we are, because that's what we came here to be. And there's so much light and goodness when I look at someone's chart. And my job is to just like breathe that belief back into you if you need it. Okay. So today we're going to be covering some foundations. So that's around human design and health and how they overlap, because for me, they're one and the same now, because human design is the mechanics of the physical body and how they show up metaphysically, energetically. And so I love layering those two together. I'm going to cover some basics just around what is stress and what is sleep, because that's really going to help you understand the importance of why it is important, and ways that you can support those in your life, particularly if you're struggling right now. Your human design may actually indicate as to why that is the case. Then you can have more compassion for yourself, and we can actually start to move forward and make some progress. Okay. I'll also cover some human design and essential oils a little bit too. Then we'll move into some hot seat coaching. So again, if you have applied for that, let me know. I do have some of your details, but ideally what I want you to do is share your screen with your chart, because I don't have access to all of them. So if you do want hot seat coaching, I can only do that for people who physically have their chart available for me to see. Otherwise, I'm just kind of guessing, right? And that's not the intention here. We want to use it as a tool for you, okay? And then I've also got some information for how to learn more, because I've already had people reaching out about when I'm running my foundations course again, which is just the introduction into human design. And that's where I cover life, health, parenting, and business all in that one course. So I'll show you when that's launching next. And any other information that you might need if you have any questions around books or resources or websites and stuff like that. I can point you in the right direction. Oh, and I just had to shout out to Kat, who gave me this beautiful quote when we were talking about her experience in the course. She said, learning human design will help you breathe a little easier. When you know you are aligned with the energy, we can be in our full potential. And I love that idea around breathing easier. And maybe we could do that right now. We can all just like take a bit of a sit into our seat bones, sit a little bit heavier, have our spine a little bit straighter. Maybe we've had a busy day, or maybe we're just waking up and our day's getting started. But whatever it is, let's just drop out of our head for a second and take a deep breath. And we'll take one more as well. Alrighty, let's dive in. So just to introduce myself, my name is Hayley Weezy. That is my human design chart. I like to think that there's nothing to hide here. Some people are like, oh no, I can't show someone my chart. I'm like, well, it's who I am. And I only just see goodness. I only see possibilities when I look at someone's chart. And so, I hope you do the same. I am a 1-3 sacral generator. Now that may or may not mean something to you right now. It actually doesn't really matter either way. If you want to continue the journey in human design, you can absolutely learn more. But for me, that describes how I show up in the world, the way that I interact with the world, the way that the world interacts with me. And even though this isn't like a human design course, I do have, more information on that if you want to learn more. But probably the most dominant area of my chart is this little dot right up here. And this is called my conscious sun gate, and that is in the gate of growth. So that means a huge proportion of the energy in my chart, we're talking at least 50 to 70%, is around getting someone from here to here. And so I love to do that in their health, and I love to do that in their relationships. I love to do that in their business, right? And so this is why when I created the I Am Academy, I had to have these different elements in this. I had to teach these modalities through these different lenses, because this is exactly what I want for each and every one. Okay. But hang on, just what is human design for those who are brand spanking new? This is it in like a nutshell. I'm just going to read it out. Human design uses your time, date, and location of birth to create a blueprint of how you are designed to interact with the world and the world with you. It's the biggest permission slip to finally embrace what makes you unique while freeing you from comparison and conditioning. It reminds you to trust what you always knew to be true and brings you home to your innate gifts, talents, and wisdoms. And I think this is the biggest word, is the trust, right? particularly when it comes to health, nobody knows your body better than you, right? I don't, you know, your doctor doesn't, your naturopath doesn't, your mum doesn't. No one knows it outside of like any better than you do. And so when you can become more connected to it, when you can listen to it more, when you can understand how it's truly trying to guide you in each and every one of your decisions, to be it on like, hey, no, you've got to go to bed now, or actually wake up and move your body and go outside, or maybe it's not best to eat that, or maybe go there, or speak to that person. Like we literally have it talking to us all the time. And I love integrating the human design wisdom through something called our strategy and our authority, so that we can do that really, really effectively. So this is something that I need to know from those who are joining us live. So where is your knowledge at between a 1 and a 10 when it comes to human design? I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so I can see your beautiful faces again, and I can see the chat. And I would just love to know where you're at with between a 1 and a 10, just so I know what terminology to use and things like that. And I'll read the chat while we're here. Judy is keen for a hot seat. Awesome. Yeah, so I'll just give you permission to share your screen when they come up. Morning, Haley. Yes, morning, morning. Very new, so it's all a bit of Greek, but have downloaded my chart, so ready to learn. Awesome, Shelley. I remember when I first saw my human design, I was like, it might as well be in human design, Japanese. Like, I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it's really fascinating. And so if you do, like, that's why I created the I Am course, the foundations course, because I want someone to go from that little girl's face of like, what is this stuff, to, oh, okay, I know what this is now. And that's why I created that, because it is a lot to get your head around. And I really love learning, and that's why I've got the textbooks, but not everyone wants to spend that amount of time and effort doing that. And they just need to know what they need to know. New to information, I have tried to change my birth time, but it won't allow it. Oh, I'm not sure what that means. You just have to go back in and recreate the chart like you're creating a new chart. So you can absolutely change your time of birth. You just have to go back in and create a new chart. Judy liked my explanation. Awesome. I'd love a hot seat, Lucy. Okay, so we've got 4, 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 7. Of course, Mel. Jess is a 2, a 3, a 0. Renee is a newbie. I saw you laughing and smiling, going, I have no idea what this is, but it sounds really cool. So welcome, Renee. You are in the perfect place. Totally fine. You are not alone. Nicole is a 1. Very basic, need a refresher. Jen is saying, perfect, darling. Basic 3. Lovely. Melissa is a 9. Of course you are. Mwah. Judy is a 7. Yes. Amanda's a 7. Ashley is a 3. Coral and Julia are 1s. Keen for a hot seat, Shelley. Awesome. Christine is a 7. Another one of my graduates. Yay. Of course, you're always learning more. Same. Sam is a 7. Fantastic. 4, 4, 4, 8. Rachel, another one of my grads. Mel. Oh, I love seeing you all here, Kristen. You have your chart. Okay. Awesome. Hot seats. All right. I want to get through all this content so we can get into the hot seats and get into the fun stuff. Yeah? Deal? Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. So we're going to dive straight into okay, for those who are new, please just trust that what will land will land. And if your body's feeling excited about this, just follow that. And we can always go back and we can learn more and we can learn all the basics. But this is just think of this conceptually for now. Okay. Don't get too bogged down in the details. So just want to put that out there. But a lot of the time when someone looks at a human design graph, they'll tell you that this is these little brown words: the head, the Arjuna, the throat, the G center, the will center, solar plexus, the sacral, the splenic center, and the root. So these are energy centers, and these are connected to the chakra system. And so there's lots of different ancient modalities in fine-tuned into this human design modality. So chakras are 1, the gene keys are 1, Kabbalah tree of life, I Ching, quantum physics, the quantum field is built into human design. So it's very, very fascinating. But what I want to focus on for the purpose of today's call is the connection of those centers, more so physically than energetically. Okay. And so the head is connected to the pineal gland and the Ajna is connected to the pituitary gland. This is really, really important when it comes to mental health and when it comes to sleep. We're not going to be focusing as heavily on like the thyroid, the will center, the liver center, because these are organs. And so, you know, in my human design course, of course, we have a whole module on this and every single center and all the things. But just for today's call, we're mainly going to focus on these upper extremities, so around our head and our mental health, and then our emotional center, which is our solar plexus, our root center, which is connected to our adrenals, which is what we know as to be cortisol, right? So stress, and our splenic center, which is also connected to fears and things. So that's going to probably come into play as well. So I'm going to guide you through all of that, but that's just so you know, all of these centers, regardless of if they're white or if they're colored, is what they're connected to. And this is actually another thing I want to say. When you look at your chart right now, and when you're looking at your chart, okay, you're seeing all of these colors. You're seeing white and you're seeing brown. And look, if you don't have your chart in front of you, just put your hand on your heart and your tummy, right? You just feel your body, okay? There is energy being received in your body, and there's energy being expressed in your body. And the human design BodyGraph is just an expression of that. Where it's colored is where you send energy out into the world, and where it's white is where you receive energy into the world, into your body. Now you have the whole chart. Never, ever, ever let anyone tell you that you've got it or you don't. It's not true. It's just how you interact with that energy. Okay, that matters, right? And that's where those colors kind of come in. And it will be significant when we're talking about the conversations today. So yeah, we're mainly going to focus on these two top centers, right? This one over the side, and these two down here. Now, if they are white, it's going to be more relevant than if they're colored. Okay, so I just want you to have a look as if these top two, your head and your Arjuna, splenic center, root, and solar plexus, which ones are white and which ones are colored. Okay, and just make a note of that or write it down in the comments if you want to stay engaged that way. The reason why it's going to be important is because white really kind of equals sensitivity, because you're sensitive to the energy coming into your body, where colored means you've got a consistent access to that energy already because you give it out to the world. And so you're not going to be experiencing so many fluctuations in that space, which means you're probably going to have a more consistent way of monitoring that center. Okay, so let's go to what is stress. So this is basically just a very, very like primary school, high school version of the process of stress being released in the body, because it's a very natural process, right? And so I've put the centers kind of connected so you can kind of see where they play a role in this journey. And just let me know on the chat, is this interesting to you? Am I making sense? Or let me know if anyone is kind of stuck. Jenna's going, yes, interesting. Okay, also, we'll keep going. So we have a stressful event in the world, right? It's not like it's still stressful out there in the world right now, is it, or anything? It's not like we've had a busy couple of years in a global scale. No, not at all, right? And so depending on, particularly if you have a lot of white in your chart, any center's white, you're going to pick this up a lot more, because you're going to pick up the energy from the news or the conversations in the supermarket. You're going to amplify those just because that's just, you're designed to be sensitive. Now, the sensitivities, when I get into the bigger picture of human design, are your gifts, just so you know. These are not things that you're like, oh my goodness, I'm broken, or this makes my life so hard. It's like, no. These are your gifts. We just haven't learned those yet, right? So just trust the process. I'm just giving you the basic foundations right now. Okay, so yes, Lucy's turned the news off. Step one, turn the news off. But say a stressful event happens. Now, this could be a literal stressful event, but most of the time it happens in our brain. Okay, so particularly 70% of the population have a white head center. So we are tapped into all the craziness and ideas of the world. And when we automatically think that something bad is happening. And even though it actually literally has no direct physical impact, potentially on our body, as in someone's not running at us with a knife, right? Or trying to, like a saber-toothed tiger is not running at us. Like our body doesn't know any different. Our body doesn't know any different between a made up stressful event in our head and something that happened 10 years ago, right? It does not know the difference. If you're thinking about it, your brain is analyzing it like it's happening right now in the moment, okay? It sends a chemical signal out through the pituitary gland, which is the Arjuna, down into the adrenals, which is obviously modulated by the root center, and then out goes the cortisol into the body. Okay, and so this is really, really important to understand this process, because at the end of the day, cortisol can be stimulated pretty naturally. The sun is a really good thing at stimulating cortisol in the body, and that's because that's what wakes us up in the morning. Blue light can also stimulate cortisol in the body, and that's why screen time and other things like that are not great at nighttime, because that's when our body is supposed to be winding down for sleep, and I'll explain that in a minute. So Adele has a colored head in Arjuna. So Adele, I would say, like, have you found, or at least found when you were a child, did you find falling asleep quite easily? We will talk about that more later, but just think about that. If you have a fully open head, so this brain, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you're probably more likely to think a lot maybe at bedtime and run off. Like, you're probably going to lie down at bed and just think about literally every single conversation you had, all the things you shouldn't have done, all the things you could have done differently, and that conversation you had 15 years ago with your best friend that you're still beating yourself up about for no particular reason. Okay. Yes, totally. So Adele sleeps really, really well. Yeah. And I'll explain that again when we come to the sleep section. So if these centers are white, oh no, there we are. If these centers are white, you're going to be more sensitive to the fluctuation of stress in your body. So what does this mean? Well, the beautiful thing about the white centers is you're not designed to hold the energy in that space. So for instance, if your head is trying to hold all of these, or you're reacting to all these fears, right, outside of you, all of these solar plexus, all emotions, all of these emotions outside of you, if you're picking those up from other people, and then you're amplifying them within yourself, right, and you're trying to hold on to them and analyze them, and you're literally going to be being in a rabbit, like in a hamster wheel, going around and around and around and around, because it's not your energy. You're not here designed to hold or do that. You're designed to feel it, right, like sense it, and then let it go. Okay, and I teach more about how to do this, but just so you know, this is probably why. Suzanne, are you all white? Are you a reflector, Susan? Is every single center for you white? Because we might have to talk about, oh, we have a reflector on the, oh, reflectors are like 1% of the population. We have a unicorn in our presence. Welcome, Susan. This is really, really exciting. And this is a really good thing for you to know, because you're not crazy. She's probably grown up most of her life thinking that there's something wrong with her. No, you're very, very special. You just have to understand what your gifts are. Okay. And so then, yeah, and particularly when it comes down to our root center, this is the center that's going to modulate your cortisol levels, your adrenal capacity. And so this can show up a lot in life. So who has a defined root, or a colored root, and who has an undefined root or a white root? So defined or undefined. Whenever I see someone with a white root here, sounds really funny, a white center down here, then I would just ask, so like, how many times have you been burnt out in the past? Right? There's just always going to be more chances that these people, even though they might leave things to the last minute, they handle pressure really, really well. They may, but then they'll burn out doing so. Where I've got a defined root center, so mine is colored. And so, no, I mean, I could burn myself out, but I would have to be doing so many things wrong. So I have a much greater capacity with this center when it's colored to handle stress, to regulate my cortisol, and to have for my adrenals to be able to handle probably the amount of cortisol that I want to be going through my body. Now, someone is not on mute, so I just need to see who that is. Christine. Okay. So does that make sense? Yes, the root is the very, very bottom one. Sorry, it's a little bit tricky from these graphics, so that probably doesn't help the newbies. Anthea's always burnt out. Judy's lots. Jess's has a defined root. Coral has a defined root. Yeah. Okay, so you'll see more of this in action when I do the hot seats, but just so you know, that's where they come from. So when it comes to sleep, again, we're probably going to look at the head and the ajna. They're probably the first two that I look at, because if those two are defined, which who was that person? Oh, I forgot. Someone said that their head was defined, top and bottom. Sorry, the top two are defined, colored in. And she slept really, really well. Okay. And I picked this up when I used to sleep next to my son. My son has a defined head and ajna. They're colored in. And I just felt like whenever I laid down next to him, I just fell asleep so peacefully. And I thought, why is that the case? Why is it the case when I'm next to my son? And that means I pick up on his defined head, which activates my open head and makes it defined, right? Because we pick up on each other's energy, right? You give your energy to other people and they give it to you. And it's because, wow, all of a sudden I am I'm in a calm space, because all the energy that is your own. It's your energy. So you don't have to question anything because it's your stuff. That said, if you have a defined head in Arjuna, and then you will have things like insomnia or really, really, really bad sleep, then we have to go digging. Then the problem is really, really deeply ingrained into something that is programmed within your center, and we need to go pull that out. But most of the time, it's due to openness that causes people to have really bad sleep, right? Because they're just thinking, and as I said, they're absorbing, and they're not having any boundaries around what they're allowing their brain to actually think about, which you can absolutely control. Kristen's saying, oh, that explains why I had to sleep on the couch laying next to my daughter after I got us this morning. Love this. There you go. Okay. So now, what is sleep? So sleep is two hormones. You've got cortisol, which we just talked about with stress, and we've got melatonin. Okay, so cortisol is defined by that black line, and melatonin is defined by the white line. So our body is naturally designed to wake up in the morning with a shot of cortisol. You'll actually feel your heart race a little bit faster when you wake up in the morning. Okay, then but I don't know about you, but like 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, whenever you wake up, is not necessarily the most stressful time in your day. But technically speaking, it's supposed to, dwindle out throughout the day. When the sun goes down is when cortisol is fully out of your body. And then melatonin is supposed to kick in, right? In the wind down time, you're supposed to have this beautiful, big healing sleep. And then that dwindles out by the time the sun comes up again, and then poof, up comes the cortisol. So that is supposed to be a really healthy, what's the word? I've just lost it. Circadian rhythm in our body. Now, the problem is that we have all of these stressful triggers now, don't we? We've just talked about that. And so we can have this black line or this cortisol line much higher in our body for a lot longer periods of time. And what happens is we could go to bed wired and tired, right? And then that gives a very short amount of time for the melatonin to kick in, because those two cannot operate in the body at the same time. And then, you get much less repair time, much less, even though you may be sleeping for the same amount of time, you're not going to be having as quality sleep as the time, right? So when someone comes to me and tells me that their sleep is bad, what I'm going to be looking at is, well, what are you doing during the day? How are you monitoring your mood during this day and your stress levels during the day? Because yes, we can focus on your sleep and maybe the doctor's giving you melatonin tablets or something like that. But if you're not focusing on what you're doing for the other 20 something or 18 something hours in the day, then you're kind of like trying to empty a bucket and still have the hose in it. It's not going to fully be effective. So what are some things that can really impact stress outside of just thoughts? So there's good stress too. So there's physical exercise. Okay. But that means, like, if my husband plays basketball at 8 o'clock at night, he takes hours to wind down because he's got so much stress cortisol in his body from the exercise. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an emotionally stressful event, but it can be a physically stressful event. And this is why there's lots of different stresses. There's chemical stress, there's environmental stress. So if you work in a job that maybe is really easy and doesn't stress you out, but you're exposing yourself to a lot of chemicals, or just in general, like your skincare, your hair care, and this is why I'm so big on essential oils and natural things, then this is going to add the stress load in your body too, right? And all the organs and stuff like that. And look, I talk about this more in depth, but just so you know, does this help kind of understand how these are all interconnected? And particularly if you have an undefined root center, a white root center, then you really have to look at what you're doing during the day to monitor your stress. We could go into, if you're a generator and a manifesting generator, like, stop being busy. You need to be productive, right? If you're not being productive, you're not going to sleep well, even if you're tired. Okay, if you're a projector or a manifestor or a reflector, you need more sleep. Okay, you need more sleep. You need more wind down time to, like, by yourself, because projectors and manifestors and reflectors, they've got a lot of openness to them, right? And they need to be out of other people's energy so they can release all of that stuff so they can sleep really well. And so, I break all that down more in details, but anyway, hopefully this helps. Now, the reason why I just wanted to cover essential oils here is because when we're looking at from an energetic level and emotional level, I've never found anything to work as effectively and quickly as plants, as plant extracts. And there is nothing more potent than an essential oil for a plant extract. So these are aromatic plant compounds. They're very, very powerful. I use doTERRA brand, and one drop is extremely powerful. And so I can use this. This is tea tree. I can use this to cleanse my aura. And this is very, very good, particularly if you have a lot of open centers. Then you can actually use this to cleanse and protect the energy that maybe you've absorbed or picked up from people that you don't want. Similar to like saging your house or your body too. You can use essential oils for that as well. But the other thing that's really powerful is the aromatic use of essential oils, right? So if I'm smelling an essential oil, guess where it goes? Directly into the brain, right? And so that's really important when you go, okay, well, this is obviously where all of this stuff starts in the first place. And this is where I smell an essential oil and it goes straight up. Actually, I've got a graphic. Let me do that. Here, this is why it's so important, right? This is where all the stress starts in our body. This is where our sleep starts in our body, right? This is where the melatonin is produced. This is where the cortisol is triggered from. And so why wouldn't you want the fastest way to access your brain? And that's through aromatic compounds, from the molecules that we smell from the essential oils. It takes 7 seconds to go up through the nose, up through the olfactory bulbs, into the limbic system, and actually start to change the way that our signals are produced and communicated throughout the body, right? Not just the pituitary gland, but the adrenals, the reproductive organs, the digestive hormones, the thyroid, your bone density, your temperature control, like so many different things are just through aromatherapy alone, just through the inhalation of essential oils. Really, really powerful. Of course, we can also put it topically on our skin as well, and they're going to go through and support like our detoxification system, our respiratory system, our hormonal system or endocrine system, joints and muscles, and again, chakras. So if you're connected in that way, then you can absolutely use them topically to access those points as well. You know, like I love to use Console over my brow to calm my open head when it's too chatty, when it's like, that's a beautiful blend that just calms that. And I also love to put an essential oil called Forgive over my heart space at bedtime, because that has these beautiful chemical constituents that on a cellular level, they can actually start to change the way that they communicate and release things while we're asleep. And so this will really help people if they maybe go to bed thinking a lot about something or beating themselves up about something. And then when they wake up, it's the first thing they think about again. That means that all those hours that you've spent where your body's supposed to process things and heal from things has been not a waste of time, but very ineffective, because you're still thinking about the exact same thing that you went to bed thinking about. And so what I find is when I apply essential oils like Forgive over my heart, those essential molecules are going in and doing their work while I'm processing it on a subconscious level. And so when I wake up in the morning, it's not there anymore. It's phenomenal. Jen's saying, I've been doing Forgive and Adaptive at bed, and she's loving that. Awesome. Shelley's saying, oh my God, Console for a chatty brain. So needed this advice. You are very welcome, darling. Christine's saying, I sleep better after you mentioned Forgive, before my mind didn't stop. Yeah. And this is a beautiful thing, is that once you've trained your brain not to do the chatter, you don't need to continue to use the oils, because all they've done is created a new neural pathway. It's so cool. Sorry, I get a bit nerdy about this, but they created a new neural pathway in the brain, right? And so all of a sudden that becomes the normal behavior. And you just use that through the aromatic anchoring of an essential oil. So we know how powerful smell is, right? Because we can smell a coffee or freshly cut grass, or we can walk into a house and it instantly reminds us of a grandma or like a memory that we don't, from years and years ago. And we didn't even know we could access that memory until the smell triggered it. So it's very, very powerful. Okay, so yeah, as I said, it's really, really important, obviously, when we're connecting them into the body, okay? So, and this is the other thing I just wanted to talk about before I go into the hot seat. Just because you're a projector or you're a manifester or you're a generator, like these two charts are both projectors, but do you think that they would experience life very, very differently? Tell me in the chat, like, let me know. Okay, so yes, right? They're both projectors though. So if people just stick with their type, which is the first thing that people normally look up, right? They normally like, oh, I'm a projector, you're a projector. That's beautiful. That will show you how you're here to kind of show up and use your energy in the world, but that is not the be all and end all. I would say this person probably is a much better sleeper than this person. What do you reckon after my conversation? Define head and ajna, define splenic root and solar plexus. And guess what? This is my son. So yes, it is. He actually is a really, really good sleeper. Where this person is highly open, like fully open head, right? Very little definition. And so much, much more sensitive. These two are also both generators. So generators are been known to have lots of energy, right? If you looked at this chart, would you say that person, like, that person is a highly open generator, okay? And this is a very defined generator. Do you guess who this person is? Oh, you're not going to be able to guess. This is ridiculous. This person is Marianne Williamson. This is her chart. And so if you need to understand the gifts in your openness, look at this. Look at Marianne Williamson as an example. She literally has every excuse under the sun to be in an emotional spin about life, fears, anxiety, all the things. And she'll talk about that in her journey, but she has learned how to master the wisdom that has come through all of that sensitivity and gift it to the world. And so when I bring human design into business, this is what I love. And this is also when I'm parenting, you know, my kids. And that's what we do in part 2 and part 3 of this series. When we look at our openness, this is where the gifts are. Okay. So many people just focus on their defined centers and you're missing the gold nuggets of your chart. Okay. All right. Hot seat time. How are we doing for time? Oh, we're doing okay. We are doing okay. All right, let's get a couple of hot seats. Who's going to put their hand up first? Okay, Lucy, I see you. Okay, so I can make you co-host and you can share your screen. And if you want to jump in the chat, I'll probably have, well, I'm hoping that I'll probably do this for about 5 minutes each. So I'll probably have time for 3 or 4, maybe 5. Judy, if you want to jump in the chat next, I can see your hand is up and pop your question in. Okay, Lucy, what is your question, honey? Or you can unmute if you want to chat. It's actually unmute. It's probably easier. I can't hear you.
I have no idea really, but I feel like I'm a newbie here.
Yes.
But yeah, I am very emotional.
Yes.
Feel things very intensely.
Yes.
But yeah, just anything. I'm a 6'2" as well. So I'm.
Yes, keep talking.
Yeah. So just any tips that you've got really on sort of. I'm very bad at, I'm a massage therapist as well. So I find it very hard to block other people's energies as well. Like I feel like I'd be sort of bipolar, like with all my customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And so if I was to show you, can you see that?
Yep.
Which one would you say if your emotions were a line, which one do you think they are?
Probably the bottom one. That'd be like, yeah.
You're this one.
Okay.
Okay. So you do have the drops, but you're pretty stable.
Okay.
Right. So it's not a growth. I would say you're pretty stable and you just have a down and you have an up. Now, that said, because you are, is that a collective? Individual. So you are very sensitive. So the thing that I would say here, so your gate 19 down the bottom, this is just me diving in a little bit deeper, is a gate of sensitivity. So like you are sensitive to touch, right? And so that's probably where that is coming from. And even like the clothes that you're wearing or a tag on your shirt would probably be quite sensitive. You could also be sensitive if anyone yells, you know, or if anyone scolds you, you'd be like, ooh, like it's just a bit twitchy. But this is your emotional wave. So this is around understanding and talking about emotions. So I'm assuming you're highly like, your gift is being emotionally intelligent. So actually understand. So when you're feeling something, you actually can verbalize what that means, right? So that's a good thing, so that you can process that. So I think you need to hang on that strength of I can actually process what I'm feeling, and you have to trust that you just ride that wave out, okay? Because the main thing is you don't want to get up into your head and overanalyze things and you probably think that you're already stressed out and you don't have enough time, right? And so the mantra that I would give you with an undefined root center down here is time is always on your side. Okay, time is always on your side. And so if you need more time, like you can create, if you're a massage therapist, create more space in your sessions, right? Or have more time between your clients so you can actually like cleanse energy properly for you to feel good.
Yeah.
Right. And if that means, oh, well, then I'm not going to make any money, well, put your prices up.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there's absolutely time for you to be able to make spaciousness in your life. You are a manifester. You have a lot of energy to give and start and do with the world, right? But at the same time, it'll be very interesting to see, you're new to this, if you have enough space for creativity and changing your mind and not showing up some days, you know what I mean? Like you just want to go hide away for a while.
Yeah, I'm very much have to like social media. I've got to like disappear, and
yeah,
I feel like everything needs to be done yesterday. So like I get the idea, and I'm like, yep, sweet, action it. Whether it's like you need like launching and the lead up time and all that sort of thing, but I just do it because I feel like it should have been done yesterday.
Yeah. And so that could have been, or that could just be a pressure that you're feeling unnecessarily, right? So that's something that you'd have to determine if like, is it actually due yesterday, or am I just putting myself under unnecessary pressure? Because if you're doing that, then you have to come back to time is always on my side. You've got to push that cortisol out of your body, and you just got to do it at a steady pace. Otherwise you'll burn out, right? You are more than enough, right? So stop second guessing yourself. Okay, that's probably going to be another big thing for you. And do you have essential oils in your life? Yeah. How are you with sleep?
Got a newborn at the moment, so not very good. But
okay.
Generally pretty good once I go out. Like it's just a matter of getting to bed at a decent time. Yeah. So the main thing to monitor for yourself is your anger. Okay. So again, forgive would be a really beautiful oil for you. So if you find yourself getting angry, that's when you know you're getting too far off track. So that's your not self theme as a manifester. But it'll be really powerful for you to come and learn how much wisdom and strength you have as a manifester, especially in emotional authority, and what you're here to do and how you're here to guide others with that energy. It's going to be really, and there's a lot of intuition there as well. You're highly, highly intuitive in the way that you want to do things, in the way that and really passionate. Are you really passionate about some stuff, like rebelliously kind of? Yeah.
All right. How's that for a little taster?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
I think you may need to, do you want to stop? Yeah, okay. Oops, nope. All right, Judy, come on in, honey.
Awesome. There you go.
We have a emotional manifesting generator. Yes. Look at you.
Yes.
Yay. So it's so funny. I was like, how do people look at a chart and be able to read it without knowing? Because normally it always tells you right here. Now, you know quite a lot about human design, right? And so do you have a specific question on my thoughts? Like, look at this fully open-headed Arjuna. Do you have any questions when it comes to health and the sensitivity in your chart? Like, what would you love to know?
Yeah, like my health is my biggest challenge at the moment.
Yep.
And like you said, asking someone with an undefined root, how many times have you been burnt out? Like I've really worked really hard my whole life and pushed and kind of just gone against what I thought I should be doing in the fitness industry for such a long time, and then moving into the coaching world. And like right now, I've gained 20 kilos pretty much, and liver stuff going on, and my adrenals as well. So it's and I've kind of struggled with also that the undefined Ajna and the undefined G center around knowing myself and not feeling like myself as well now, to do with my health.
And so the liver is, for everyone playing along at home, the liver is connected into the G center here in the middle. And so the emotions that are connected to the liver is anger, Okay. And then anger is also a not self theme of the manifestor side of your manifesting generator, right? And so for me, there's a strategy and authority. I'm going to talk like high level stuff here, guys, just because Judy understands it. So just bear with me. But there's an issue here with your strategy and authority process, right? And so you are a generator, so you're here to respond, and you may be responding to that. But if you're not informing after responding to allow the manifested pace and energy for you to express yourself, then that's where you're going to be getting like really frustrated and angry, because that the pace, especially coming out from gate 34, like the power, you've got 2 full channels going to your throat, babe, right? And so like, how's your thyroid?
Well, I don't know. I mean, when I had it tested, the initial test is saying that it's fine.
Okay.
But there's like the other aspects of it that unless the initial one is off, they won't test the other ones, like the general GP.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely have seen and continue to analyze that in my own life where I haven't been informing. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's a really good point for me to kind of go deeper on, because I do find myself not speaking enough about what's live for me, and therefore.
Yeah, so everyone can see here, like, see how there's these lines going all the way through. So you're a single definition. So that means you're a closed circuit, which is a very powerful way, very independent person. But also, like, you are not designed to spend time up in your head. But the problem is all of this inspiration, ideas, and pressure is coming in, and it's got no way that it naturally wants to be expressed. And so the best way for you is to actually work around people. Even though you're going to be very independent, if you work around other people, you may pick up on their head and Arjuna stuff to be able to clear that energy out, right? Even though it may just be a co-working space, so you can actually just sit next to them and not actually work with them.
I do feel a lot better in those spaces, for sure.
You'll feel clearer. And just you need to get some good routines around time management, like, and creating more spaciousness in your day, because you have full control over how you want to run your day. And so stop putting yourself under so much pressure. And like just learning this, because you're here to learn how to manage your time and your pressure. You're here to learn how to guide others through direction, love, and purpose, right? It's not necessarily for yourself, but you're here for the other. And so as you're, struggling with this, you're actually learning the skills to help other people, which is what you do. You coach, right? It's exactly, this is why you're a good coach, because even though you feel lost, you know exactly where they need to go.
Yeah, totally. I'm so good at mirroring that back and reflecting that back. But I feel right now I've been a lot in my inertia, like the shadow of my, like gate 9 as well. Because it's like not wanting to overexert myself and drive, and then all the ideas and all the things and like all the influence as well, and just trying to come back home to my own truth.
And so like gate 9 you're talking about here is a gate of focus, and that means we can have a bit of a squirrel brain. It's like, oh, what's this? Oh, shiny object syndrome.
Big time.
It can come from that. So I think you're really aware. Like I would just maybe start back with go back to the beginning, start back with your strategy and authority, and start focusing on how can I inform better. Not for permission, just for informing sake, to see if that can actually help release some of the blockages.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
No worries, darling. Alrighty, who's up next? Anthea. And then we'll go to Shelley and Jess. And while Anthea's bring this up, I had a thought. Who was the lady who I just did the first reading with? Who was the masseur? I'm trying to think of her name. Lucy. Okay. So Lucy, another thing about your wave is it really is impacted, your emotional wave, by the people around you. And so if you are massaging people and they've got bad juju, bad energy, then you will be heightened emotionally because of that. And that's what you're already picking up. So I just wanted to edify you with what you're experiencing when you're around people and why that is draining for you as well. And that may just mean that a part of your process, or incorporating some essential oils that are protective. So frankincense would be a really beautiful one. You could diffuse on guard. You could, which is another protective oil. You could use frankincense literally up and down their spine. And that can also protect you energetically from their stuff to your stuff. So that's just some more suggestions. Hi, Anthea. What is your question?
Well, I liked how you told the last
She massages horses. Oh, sorry.
What I'm here to learn. I'd like to know that. That was interesting when you covered that in the last with the last lady. And also, again, how to protect my energy, because I'm with children all day and I come home to my own children and family. And how I can not get so burnt out all the time. And I know it's to do with my job, but and I am on a path to steer away from it. But yeah.
And so we haven't done the manifesting generator. Huh?
I was just going to say, what can I do in the meantime?
Yeah. So the first thing is, like, no matter what your chart, you know, whoever's watching this, no matter what your type is the energy in your chart is designed to be used on things that you love. Okay. It's just here to be used on things that you love.
Yeah.
And so when someone like Anthea, maybe, or anyone out there who is doing a job that they know deep down in their heart is just like killing their soul slightly. I mean, you might love it. There'll be elements. I know you love teaching. I know you love your kids, but there's still something that's like, there's something else here. It means that there's energy that is being used in ways that isn't in a way that's designed to be used. And that's very draining for us. Okay. And that's probably why people feel like they feel miserable. And that will always manifest physically at some point in your life. And so I'm glad you've asked this. Like, okay, well, I can't change something straight away. It's like, what do I have control over and what do I not? Now we have control over what happens between our brain, right? We have control over the conversations we have in our head. And so even if, you know, you hear these stories about prisoners of war, right? And the fact that they have just taken over how they've talked to themselves in their head and how much stronger they've come out of these terrible situations, we cannot blame the situation for what's happening up here, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is the control seat, okay, to those thoughts and those stress levels, as you've just seen, right? And so I would start focusing on mindset. I would start focusing on all the things that you do love and gratitude and all that kind of stuff. I'm so grateful I have this job. That means I can earn this money, which means at one stage I can start investing in a side thing, right? And yada, 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 whatever it is that you want to do, okay? You can absolutely we've talked about some supplementation. So Anthea is one of my clients from my health business. And so we've talked about supplementation. I think that because when we're under excess stress, our body needs more nutrients, more minerals, right? So it's going to be burning through them a lot quicker, right? And so if you're under heightened stress, your body just needs more vitamins and minerals. And so normally when we're stressed, we do the opposite. We go to the refined carbs and the high sugar content food, right? Which makes it even worse, okay? And so supplementation is really, really important when we're wanting to focus on mood and stress. Okay, I love my lifelong vitality supplements. If you're in doTERRA, you'll know what they are. If you're not, just ask, okay? But yeah, I would definitely be focusing on some other oils like basil is a really great one for your adrenals, and anything emotionally to protect you. So again, wearing On Guard every day at school is a really good idea. It's going to protect you emotionally as well as your immune system. Okay, so that's going to be a really, really great one, like a win-win. And also just understand that, like, the beautiful thing about being so open in this stuff is that it's like not my circus, not my monkey. Okay, so when a child comes to you and they're fallen over and they're having a big meltdown, maybe they're an emotional authority. And so you're picking it up and amplifying it, going, oh my God, and you're empathic. And so you're feeling their emotions, right? But at the same time, you can breathe all of that stuff out because it's not your stuff. It's not your emotion, it's their emotion. And when you start to differentiate between what is your energy and what is their energy, you can actually let go of what isn't. Okay. And so that's probably going to be the best skill to have, is to let go of the thoughts that aren't yours. And I've got some really great, like I have 7 different techniques that I go through in my health module for my IM course to bust all of this stuff. All right. And so, yeah, if you want some really great skills, like definitely do that. Oh, Christine, darling, I think you're not muted again, sweetie. All righty. Does that help you, honey?
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think you'll have to turn off the share screen. Shelley, darling, are you up next? All right. Bye, Judy. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Okay, screen.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Sorry.
So Jen's saying stress depletes, sugar depletes. Stop the cycle. Yes. 100%. It's real. Or like you lean on caffeine or you lean on something else. Another vice.
No.
What do you need? Oh. Shelley, are you there, darling? Can you share your screen? There should be like a little green button down the bottom of your computer. Yep. Jen's saying also look into iodine. Yeah.
Is that it?
Your thyroid. It is coming up now. So what's your question, Shelley?
I suppose health-wise is I've put on a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely an emotional eater. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'll start all these going on keto, doing this, doing that, and it lasts a couple of days and then I just fall off the wagon again. Anger. So a couple of things that you've touched on with the other ladies. I definitely have some anger issues, which I didn't realize were quite as bad until I changed work environment from a very toxic environment to now a really healthy environment. And it's like I'm the toxic one. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's someone said it might be because I'm feeling safe in this environment and so I'm letting all this toxicity out. I don't know. And then I also just wrote down, I think I'm sort of closer to my passion. I don't have much passion or things that I want to do in my life. I don't know. I'm very, very scattered with what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking if at my age, you know, I should kind of be on some kind of a path, know where I'm going.
Can I ask how old you are, Shelley?
25?
No. Oh, no, it's just significant around the 6 profile line, that's all.
Oh, okay. 53.
We're all friends here. Huh?
53.
Yeah. And so between what I would do is I would look at the ages of 0 to 30 and what you really loved and the lessons that you learned between 0 and 30, how that was kind of refined and what happened around 50. There probably was a significant change for you around 50, and that's probably why potentially why you're feeling even more antsy now at 53 is if you're not really utilizing those skills or that wisdom that you have as a 6-2 profile, okay? Because that's what it's designed to. You really should, there's something that you're really good at that you're not giving to the world, okay? There's something that you know, or there's something that you love, or something that you've learned. And I'm assuming you've learned quite a lot of things because you've got 6 out of the 9 to find the centers open, okay? And so you've come here to be wise about emotions and around fears and intuition and health, right? I'm assuming your immune system would be much more sensitive than most people. Have you always been around herbs and essential oils ever from a young age? Or did you steer clear of medications and things from a young age?
No. But once I found out about them, I was like, once I found out about the essential oils, that was like coming home.
Yes.
Funny you say that. My granddad, he was way ahead of his time, and I kind of worshipped him. So maybe in there somewhere there was a deep knowledge that what he was doing all those many years ago was right.
Yes.
But I kind of just put that to the back of my mind.
Is your time of birth accurate?
I'm not 100% sure because my mom can't remember my time of birth.
Yeah.
And the one that I've used for this chart was someone that scribed it for me.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. How could I get closer to that?
It would just be really interesting to go like 1 a.m., 5 a.m., 12 noon, 4 p.m., midnight, you know what I mean, in the day, and to see how much your chart changes. Because I could be talking to you as a 6-4, but you might be a 4-1, you know what I mean? Like I could be talking to you about an undefined splenic center, but that gate could activate gate 57, right, at the time that you were born, and that could change your chart slightly. So, or it might not change at all. So for me, it's a really tricky thing to go, well, I can talk to this and if it's accurate, but it may not be. And that's why if you don't know your time of birth, just take everything with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? But similar things is like just being really aware that other people are going to potentially impact your emotional state or the thoughts and your actions a lot more than other people. But as a generator, you're here to do what lights you up. So when I go through my first module in my I Am course, I talk about strategy and authority, and for you, your sacral is your authority, and I talk to you how it feels in your body, right? And this is such an important thing to understand, is because this is the way that your body communicates to you and always tries to get you onto the right track, no matter, you know, how old you are. Okay, so you see it in children and you see it everywhere. Okay, Jen saying deeper look needed. How good to get some clarity to propel you. Yeah. And so what I would just give to you, Shelley, is to come back to your sacral and go, when you either hear yourself go ooh or okay, that's a sign. Like it could be a verbal, or it could be a feeling, like an up feeling or a down feeling in your body. Okay. And so that's your authority talking to you. And I would highly recommend getting to know that better. That would be really, really helpful for you, because that will help you determine what is your stuff and what is not your stuff. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Have you heard of strategy and authority before? No. No. Okay. Yeah, I've just I looked at it and thought, oh, sacral. So that's that's like down here, isn't it? The root sacral chakra. Is that right? Mm-hmm. That's that sort of area. Yeah. But it doesn't actually mean anything. Like it's like, okay, I've got a sacral authority, but what does that mean? How does it show up in my life? You know, what is it here to do? How does it work? Right? How does it impact other people? You know, what's the benefit of it? And so it's hard to kind of explain that in five minutes. Exactly. Yeah. But it's definitely worthwhile looking into, because I think it will really, really help you come back to the core essence of who it is you are and how it is that you're here to show up. And that will guide you into and answer all the questions that you have. Because at the end of the day, we all know there is something within us, a higher self somewhere always knows the right way forward. We just have to be quiet enough to listen to them. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, thank you. And if I could just ask, how could I find my time of birth, or how could I get a bit closer to that, do you think? Yeah, there is a rectification website that you can use that uses astrology. So that's actually quite accurate. I'd probably say that's the most accurate, is using astrology to rectify your time of birth. So I would start there. Okay. All right, lovely. Thank you so much for your time. That's okay. Yeah, pendulums are great too, Adele. Yeah. But I think you'd want to be more in touch with the energetics of things before going to pendulums. All right. Do I need to do something now? You may have to stop sharing the screen. Stop sharing. Right. There. Got it. Thank you, Jess, darling. And then Renee and Adele and Cody. I'm happy to hang around if everyone else is. So does anyone have to go? Share screen? Otherwise, what I might do, you're right? Is this funny, interesting? Yeah, cool. What a beautiful photo. Thank you. All righty. We have a projector, spine projector. 2-5, very rare. Right. So what's going on for you, hun? I had a few questions, so I might read them and then you can tell me which is the most related to what we're supposed to be talking about. Yes. But mine were, I go to sleep after a while, so it's difficult, and I can sleep all night, but I wake up feeling exhausted every day. Yep. How do I bring more creativity into my life and have less stress? Like, I don't really know what brings me joy, and I know that that's something I need to do, but I just can't figure out
what it is. And I'm so highly affected by the emotions of everyone, and how can I protect myself better and cleanse better?
Okay, great question. So the first one is sleep. So particularly for non-sacral beings. So unlike the other people, your sacral here is white. So you're considered a non-sacral. So that's a manifestor, a projector, a reflector, all have this center white. Now you need a lot more sleep. Okay, but you also need more time in your own energy, particularly as a 2-line, which is up here, your profile. You need more time. You probably love time to yourself, potentially, right? But then if you're in a relationship, do you have kids or anything like that? No, you don't love time to yourself?
I struggle massively.
So in what way?
I think I just get in my head and think too much, that when I'm busy and with other people, I just don't overthink, but I'm a terrible overthinker. So time by myself is really quite difficult. I am getting better at it, but I'm not very good at it.
So my question to you is, if you just think about what I just said to you and you say, but that's the one thing that I'm really resisting because it's really uncomfortable, and then you wonder why you're tired all the time.
Yeah.
Because you actually need that 2-line. You need that time to yourself to recharge. Like your body literally, because if you're around other people's energy, okay, you're picking all of that up. It's not your stuff, right? And so that's okay. That can be great. That can be very, very handy, and it works really well in teams and to help us be effective and dynamic in life. But projectors are here to be successful. They're here to think outside the box, to guide projects, not necessarily always be in the grind and doing the work. Okay. And so sometimes if they're trying to act like a generator and kind of get in there and do all the work, it's like, that's not really your role. Your role is more to guide and you're very wise. Like you can kind of see things that other people can't see. You may, do you have people that love you or hate you?
Yep.
Yeah. You're going to trigger people. And I talk about how to utilize that energy as a projector. It's waiting for an invitation, which is your strategy, right? It's really important skill to learn. And we work through that with the course, and particularly your 5 lines, because I discussed that as well. And that those two will amplify one another, particularly if you're giving unsolicited advice. But that's just a whole nother side conversation. So for you to be able to sleep, yes, you need do you sleep in a bed next to someone?
Yeah, my husband.
Do you have children?
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old.
Yeah. And so for yourself, I would look at your husband's chart and look at your child's chart, and then you can see what you're picking up from them. And this is come back to the next week's one where we're talking about parenting. That'll be really fascinating for you as well. And that's the other good thing. Like if you can do the IM course and literally have all of their charts out in front of you, life is going to make sense. You don't have to go and get 3 individual readings. You want to be able to have a look at you all at the same time and go, oh, I see how we all work together now. I can see why my son's like this and I'm the complete opposite. No wonder I don't understand. Right. And that's the gift in being able to do it that way. I want to also cover the emotional things that you mentioned. Now, your solar plexus, which is this one down here, is fully open. And I can talk to this because I'm the exact same, which means when emotional energy comes into this center, it doesn't have anywhere it naturally wants to express. So depending on the way that you were brought up, you will either shut down and harden up and just toughen up and just get on with life. Right. And you're not really tapping into the actual gift, which is the empathy and compassion that you have there in bucket loads. Right. And so what I'm feeling you said is that you're actually picking up on everyone else's emotions and you don't know what to do with them. Right.
Yeah, very much.
Right. Guess what? You don't have to do anything with them because they're not your emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the techniques I teach in the IM course is about being a sieve and not a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is going to be very relevant for anyone watching this replay where they have white centers. This is where you receive energy. And so think of it like energy coming down, like water going into out of a tap, and you can sit a sponge underneath that water, that tap. And that sponge just fills up. But what happens after a while if you don't wring the sponge out? It just gets moldy and smelly and skanky. And that's like you holding on to other people's emotions, thinking that they're your own. You can move the sponge, you can wring it out if you want to, but you can put a sieve under there. And so all of a sudden when the water's going through, you sense the water and you can feel the water and you can understand that it's wet and what temperature it is, but you can let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
I'm very much a sponge.
Not a sponge. So what it sounds like is that you're being the sponge mindset and you need to be the sieve mindset.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
it's tricky because both my children are emotional authorities. So when they come in and they're crying, I feel it. I feel it more than they're feeling it, right? And so I have to breathe. Like I just said, you know, same thing happens in my ego, my will center with my husband. It's like, oh, it feels icky, right? But when you become sensitive in this way to the energy and how it's working with other people, it'll start to make sense. But does that help?
Yeah, massively. Thank you. Just even the analogy of the sieve is huge for me, because my husband's always like, oh, this is not your energy. Like, stop picking up on what's going on with them. And I'm like, I can't help it.
Yeah.
But realistically, I can. And it's the mindset that I need to change. And I guess you mentioned before some of the oils and stuff to protect. I think I really need to implement those things, because I'm a nurse. And so when I go to work, I just absorb everything and then come home. And then my partner's like, oh, you're just too much.
Yeah.
So I think I just need to learn to protect and cleanse. And I think that will make a huge difference for me.
Yeah, and somatic work too, like dancing, shaking it out, moving, time in nature, time by yourself in nature, right?
Yeah.
And so even if you need to transition to being able to sit with yourself, to like literally going for a walk with earphones in, okay? So you're not listening to your head, you're listening to something else that's positive. You'll be able to transition away from that. But I do have other techniques that I teach in the course that may be helpful for you, but that will be a really, really, really great start.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're welcome, honey. All right, Adele. Sorry about the sounds, muted them now. That's okay, Shelley. Maybe jump in the comments for those who are following along if they've learned anything about themselves just by me talking about someone else. Here we go. We got a Manny Jen, open root. So Adele, you've got the defined head in Arjuna. So again, you're about 30% of the population to have that defined head. How is your sleep going?
Yeah, fantastic. I sleep like 12 hours a night.
Yeah.
Or 10 at least.
Some people are like, I don't understand. It's like, yeah, they just, you don't have to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be a really good one to, like, if someone else is struggling to sleep, if like your kid, or I don't know if you have kids, or do you have a spouse, or?
Yep.
See, they probably enjoy sleeping next to you because that helps them sleep easier.
Yep. So Greg just puts his head on the pillow and he's out to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But see, if you were away, and I've had this conversation with husbands and wives, I'm like, okay, when you went away the other week for work, how did you sleep then? Oh, terribly.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just so interesting to see, like, this is all, like, human design is an experiment, guys. And I have spent, coming up 4 years now, literally seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of charts. And that's why when I put all this wisdom into my courses, it's because I've had these conversations and people have gone like, yeah, no, that's what happens. So It's pretty cool. So what's your question?
Okay, so my question is around like more the gates, and the only health concern I have is that I overproduce insulin.
Okay.
So the more sugar I have, I produce more insulin. So I'm the opposite to a diabetic and have really low blood sugar levels. And so like what I could do eating wise and stuff like that as well.
Let me just look at something for a second. What is the organ? Is it the pancreas?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So this is in your defined solar plexus. Yep. Okay. So this to me, this is a good conversation, because normally if you were an undefined solar plexus, I'd be, okay, you're holding on to someone else's stuff. There's emotional things that you haven't processed.
Yep.
There's emotional energy as a manifesting generator that you're not expressing.
Yep.
And it's a lot of the time it will get stuck in someone's throat and have thyroid issues. Sounds to me that it's getting stuck and it's in your pancreas potentially.
Yep.
Right. And there's also kidneys in there too. So I don't know how your kidneys are, but like there's energy that wants to be expressed through your throat. And so my question is like, are you actually doing that? Like how are you communicating? Do you feel like there is safe spaces? I mean, this is why we do, I can't cover them all at once. Like, this is why I have to cover parenting, I have to cover business in my courses, because if you were told to shush as a child, that's a really big issue, right?
Yep.
Because you had so much energy coming out through the throat, and your parents maybe had an undefined throat, they couldn't handle it, and so they wanted to shut you down, right? So there could be conditioning there from a child. And
I've actually had, throughout my life, I've had people who continuously shut me down, different people. Does that make sense? Like, I express something and then all of a sudden they're like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you know that I'm emotional, obviously, from leadership.
Well, I can see that because you've got an emotional wave.
Yeah.
You know, you've got an emotional wave. And this was the same wave as Lucy. And was it Lucy?
Yep.
And so this is all around expressing and understanding emotions. And so, you know, we have to come back into week 3 for you, so you can actually start to figure out what it is that you're here to communicate and how you're here to communicate it. Okay.
Yep.
And how you, but fear of failure is probably going to keep that shut down a lot potentially from you.
Yep.
As well, but and probably self-doubt, being an undefined will center, yada yada, and all the things. But yeah, this is this whole big picture vision here. But I would say that there's energy being stuck in your solar plexus because you're not living your purpose, because there's something that you're not communicating and expressing fully. And this is the thing, like, the body doesn't lie, energy doesn't lie. And so this is why I really love this as additional layer to anything that I can help either people on this call with or anything else in life, because it just gives you might have seen in my promotions for this series, it's like maybe something's not wrong, maybe that you just need another way to look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's all about perspective, basically.
It's about perspective.
Yeah.
And the body's designed to heal, and the body's designed to produce insulin, and the body's designed to digest foods correctly, and and there's always going to be things that are, I'm not here to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure. I'm not in that space. All I want you to do is feel empowered that there's other ways that you can look at things, and maybe if you're not actually doing this over here, it's actually affecting this over here. Yeah. And just monitor those adrenals.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, honey, does that help?
Yeah, heaps. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Cody, darling. Nicole saying agree on protection of self, and where'd the chat go? Oh, what's the chat? Cody, have I made you co-host? Yes. Agree on protection of self and sieving through other people's emotions, thoughts and feelings, not your circus, not your monkey, knowledge, and move on. Yeah, Nicole, you get it. Beautiful. Oh, we have a reflector. Of course we are. I forget that you're a reflector too. We've got 2 reflectors, Susan and Cody. All right, darling, let's talk.
Okay, so a lot of what you've said today has been helpful, but I think I struggle a lot with, like, I try to cleanse energy, but what I do never seems to be enough. And then, like, my sleep has always been bad. And it doesn't help. Like, I've got 2 young kids that I'm raising on my own at the moment, and that never helps with my sleep either. Despite you saying, no, they both have defined head and Arjuna. So, but their sleep still doesn't help. And the food aspect. So I know a lot about health and food and eating right, but I never seem to be able to put it in practice. It's always like up and down, up and down, up and down.
Fluctuates.
Yeah.
Is your time birth accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, your diet, which is one thing, again, I cover in the IM course for this reason. I cover the variables. Lots of people don't in the basic stuff. I think it's really important for this exact reason. If you know your exact time of birth, these arrows will be really accurate for you, and understanding which direction they're pointing can be really relevant to how you digest information, or food, or, how you learn too can be really, really important. And so you need to have structure in your day, what you eat, how you eat. That would be the first thing for you, is looking at your digestion, right? And your digestion is direct, and you could look that up too. But the first thing is like, eat a similar amount at the same time and have consistency with the way that you're eating your food. Okay. And I think that, like, having structure anywhere in your day, even though it may feel annoying because you're so all over the shop, which is probably going to help you. It's just like try and tap into some, think of it like the masculine and the feminine balance, right? Is that if you can create some masculine structured frameworks in your day, it's going to allow the freedom to flow within that. Does that make sense?
I suppose.
So for feminine energy, and this is kind of what I work with from when I did my I Am Woman woman work. So I Am Woman is another course that I run for the embodiment of the human design, not the thinking of the human design, right? And so the embodiment of human design is understanding that we all have masculine and feminine energy in our life. But the feminine can only truly come out and feel empowered if it feels safe. And what creates safety? Structure, frameworks, right? Security. And so we have both, and we can do both, right? But if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel like our life has routine, or the kids are pulling us each and every which way, which is always going to be a season of life, don't be surprised when other things go skew-if. Does that help you? Just to have a bit more compassion as to why you're struggling to have or create that. For those playing, for those playing along at home, when you see someone like this is a reflector. They're 1% of the population. Now, animals also have human design, and they have slightly different energy chakras and systems and things. But a lot of dogs, most dogs are reflectors. And I'm not saying that you're a dog, Cody. What I'm saying is that most people understand how animals, or particularly dogs, interact with the world. They're very sensitive, right? They're very intuitive for, like, that's a bad person, I don't like them, I'm going to go away. It's like, oh, that's a good person, I'm going to wag my tail. And, they're very trusting individuals. They, like, if you have a bad dog, they've got probably a bad home. If you have an anxious dog, they're probably in an anxious home. Okay? If you have a neurotic dog, they're probably in a neurotic home. And this is the same with reflectors, is that your energy, your health, your mindset is a reflection of the people that you're hanging around, because how can it not be? And so, unfortunately, for lots of people, that's not the easiest thing to change. Okay? But at the same time, it is something that you have control over. So I'm not saying leave your husband or, drop your kids off at your grandma's, but I'm just saying is that being aware of what's happening, being aware that, and if you come and do the I Am course, you can have your kids' charts up, your chart up, and your husband's chart up, and you can see how their energy is impacting you. Oh, yeah, I slept with my son last night, and I literally woke up as a manifesting generator because I just absorbed his energy all night. No wonder I felt so energized and I wanted to do all these things, right? And then all of a sudden you're going to morph into someone else and morph into someone else. And that's okay. But that's why, like, from a reflector perspective, it takes so long for you to truly understand who you are, to make a decision, right? Because you're always testing what other people want to do and what, energy you're tapping into and all the things. But the good thing about reflectors is that your aura is very protective of you. Okay, so don't see yourself as this big weeping willow out there. It's like, no, you've got a big force field around you that can protect you, okay, from other people's energy. So don't stress too much. But also understand, when we come into from a business perspective, when I say the openness is a gift, look how much gifts you have. Right? Yeah. And so, what's her name? There's a beautiful reflector. On Instagram. I'll send you to her. She's a reflector. She's like an influencer online. And you can just see how wise you are, right? Because you can pick up and sense everyone else. Because you have to learn all the lessons. That's what you've come here to do. But you've also come here to help and reflect that back to us and what we're not seeing, right? You're here to be a mirror for us too, okay? But you're a 6'2". You need time by yourself. How old are you now, hun?
I'll be 30 next month, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So you're right on your Saturn return, like douche, douche, douche. Okay. That's a big time for anyone, 28, 29, 30. That's a huge time in anyone's life. So that's going to be throwing a spanner in the works. You're about to get on the roof as a 6 line. So you're going from all of this trial and error and all of these ups and downs, and it's going to smooth out from 30 to 50. Like, it's going to start to make more sense. Okay. So just hang in there a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a massive last few years.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that helps. Thank you.
Okay, darling. Anthony's saying, how do I join the I Am course? Okay, so actually, let me just stop sharing my screen and then I will stitch them together. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. I don't want that. This screen. Okay. Here. So this is the I Am course. This is cheaper than a 1-hour consult with me, just so you know. Like the value in here is immense. I've given two payment options, so pay in full and a payment plan. Right now for the next week until the 21st of August, you save 25%. So on the payment plan, instead of paying 4 payments, you do 3 payments of $77. And instead of paying $299, you're paying $222, okay, as the early bird. So you can just take a photo of this and that will either the payment plan or the pay in full. And that will help you go into that. And what I'll also do with the replay is I will send out a link. And so once I finish the sales page, because this is just going to the payment kind of thing, but if you need to see the sales page and like all the ins and outs and the course outline and all that kind of stuff, I'll get that finished this weekend and you'll get an email with a link to all of that kind of stuff too. Okay, so in there's 4 modules. So the first one is life and understanding your human design, your chart, what you're looking at, how it works, all the things. The second one is health. So a little bit like today, but just diving in a lot deeper and breaking it down to each center, each type, right? So you can kind of follow it step by step. Everything is designed as a teacher in mind, step by step, okay? Then the next one is parenting. So that's understanding relationships and how to parent through design, as well as you're parenting yourself, reparenting yourself. And then we're doing a bonus live business masterclass. And that's going to be a live masterclass diving into all things human design and business and purpose and personal development. So that's going to be really, really cool. So there you go. Does that help? Awesome. All right. We've got 2 more hands up. Renee, darling. And then Jacinta, and then I think we're done. Oh, the certification. Adele. Okay, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that next. Hi, Renee.
Hi. I've never done this before, so I have no idea what I'm doing. There we go. Is that doing something?
Not yet, but it will soon, hopefully.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so the next intake for the I Am course starts on the 28th of August and it will go 28th, 4th, 11th and 18th of September on Sundays. Yeah. Bye, Christine. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Look at you. All righty. What's going on?
No idea. That's why I'm here.
Well, what has kind of...
Basically, I just want to know, what do you see out of this? Because then I can then ask questions because I don't understand it.
You don't understand it. So my first question to you was what has resonated from what you've learned today so far?
Funnily enough, while you were talking about sleep and the open head at the top, my daughter does not sleep. Like, she's 14, doesn't sleep, and I'm constantly like, go to sleep. She's an open head. So now I'm kind of understanding why she doesn't sleep, because she's just ticking over other stuff. And she will sometimes come into bed with me, and now I understand why she likes to do that.
Yeah, and then she just falls asleep. Renee's frozen a little bit.
I'm like, But I got blindsided a couple of years ago with breast cancer, so I'm really angry. And yeah, basically I just like to know what that all means.
Alrighty. Emotional. Well, we don't have time to dive all into what it means, but I think you already know more than you realize, because you've already just literally picked up, like, that's huge what you've just analyzed around your daughter's sleeping patterns, which has probably been a really big sticking point for you for 14 years, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden what human design does is it gives you compassion.
Yeah.
Shit. She doesn't, like, I didn't get it, that why doesn't she just fall asleep like me? Oh, because she's built the complete opposite way. And so how can I support?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do it for my other 2 kids too.
Yes, 100%. And so my daughter's very similar. She's got a fully open head and she just gets very anxious at nighttime, right? And so I use she picked wild orange for her sleep oil. Funny enough, because she didn't need to be made tired. She was a generator. She was well and truly, you know, she'd used up all her energy for that day. But she did need to be happy to go to bed, right? And sometimes also, like for me with my undefined head, I needed to listen to music as a kid or the radio or something, so I didn't listen to my own head. But I've now learned other coping skills that I'm now teaching my daughter much, much earlier than I learned myself. So she's like 20 years ahead of the game. And yeah, I run through all of those in the course too, hun. But I think the fact that like what you've already picked up is huge, you know, just even having that compassion and understanding that everyone's different. So you have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom up in your head that you're here to give to the world, but you maybe struggle to get it out, like communicating it, like verbalizing it.
Well, yeah.
You say, well, yeah, like doesn't everyone?
No. I say, well, yeah, because I think that I do it, but then I know that it doesn't get across because nobody understands what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So I'm obviously not.
Yeah. And
saying it in the right way that they can interpret it, maybe.
Well, you just have a very unique way of looking at the world, okay? It's a very different way of you looking at the world, and that's a beautiful thing. And also, like, sometimes as an open-throated center, from a health perspective, thyroid can be an issue, but also maybe neck or shoulders too. Otherwise, you're fine. That means you've got a healthy expression. And the main thing is you'll either be a chatterbox, okay? Yeah. And so what we talk about in the course is how that there's pressure there to talk when actually we probably could be quiet, right? And so because you may feel invisible if you're not speaking. And so when I go into the parenting module, if you've got a child with an undefined throat, we want to witness them when they're quiet and not always when they're talking, so that they feel comfortable and seen in their silence. Because if you think about this is probably going to change your mind around feeling invisible, okay? Because if someone's sitting there observing the world, right, which you're a generator, you're here to observe and then respond to things as your body feels inclined to do so. And if someone was in the room and you're having a party or like you're having conversations and someone's just been sitting there watching and interacting and just thinking and listening the whole time, and then all of a sudden they speak, are you going to go, what do they say? Are you going to actually lean in and listen to what they have to say? Where if that person was just trying to talk all the time, you're going to tune them out.
Yeah.
So there's actually a lot of power when speaking when you feel called to speak, because people are really going to listen. Okay, you're going to become very wise around how you use your voice. And also because you can talk to someone up here, and then 3 seconds later you can turn around and talk to someone down here, because you will match the energy in the room. Well, I'm the complete opposite. I was like, those people are really like pretentious, because how can they be like that with me and then completely different with someone else? Well, I'm very consistent in the way that I communicate. Right? You'll be very fluctuating in the way that you communicate. And then your emotions, you're empathic. Okay. So that's the other thing, is that you pick up and feel other people's emotions, and that's okay too. As far as like, it just depends on, like, you've got a lot of energy there. I just hope you're using it. And so I'm a generator, and so I have gate 7. So I need questions for me to be able to really guide you. But if there's anything else that you have that's specific outside of just tell me about myself, I could be here for an hour.
Yeah, no. I didn't really have any. I came in with an open mind. Like I just wanted to just see what this is, and all it's doing for me is creating an interest to go into this further, because I think it's actually going to help. So that's where I sort of come in today, going, okay, well, you know, it was only 10 minutes before I sort of come in that I had this chart, and I was like, okay, it's all cool. I just need to now start and going and looking at what it all means.
Well, you've got a lot of energy.
Very thankful for being here. I really am.
I'm grateful you're here too. Like, you've got a lot of energy to give to the world, basically. And the beautiful thing is when you realize that and you have permission to do that.
Yeah.
Where you may have been, were you really talented at something as a kid? Did you have a natural?
I'm like crafty. I can basically turn my hand to anything I'm shown.
Yeah. And so you may think that's normal, where it's not. Like, sometimes I see what a defined will center is, they have this tall poppy syndrome in Australia, right? And so like this means that you're here to, when you say you're going to do something, you got to do it. But if you're saying yes to all the things because you should, right, you're going to get burnt out and pissed off and annoyed and angry and frustrated, right, because you've said yes to things that you should have said no to. Yep. So you're going to learn by studying your human design. Huh?
I said I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I bite off more than I can chew, and then I can't give 100% to everything, and that just does my head in.
Yeah. And this is the downfall of the generator. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And we say yes to all the things because we can do it, but we don't want to do it. And because you've now said yes because of your design, you feel it would be life worth and death to turn them away, to actually say no, right? And so you're going to learn how to trust your strategy and authority so you don't get yourself in that situation in the first place.
Cool.
Okay?
That's awesome. I love
You're welcome. All right. Jacinta.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, let's share.
So Jen said overmothering, giving too much, and others with breast. Oh, yes. There you go. With the breast cancer. You're so beautiful, Jen. She's already looked up the emotional connection to breast tissue, which can be overgiving and mothering. And I think you had gate 50 too, which is a lot of that energy. So you could see where your gate 50 is, where it sits in your chart, what the amplification of that is, where it shows up in your life, all of those kind of things too. Jen had the same. Oh, big hugs, darling. Here you are. Look at you go. All right. What is your question, Jacinta?
So my question's sort of more
Shelley
around
signed up.
digestion.
Oh, welcome. Sorry. Sorry, the chat just popped up. Shelley signed up for I Am. That's so exciting. Jacinta, darling, what's your question?
So my question's more around digestion. So I sort of have intolerances to things like gluten, oats, and last time I saw my naturopath, she sort of said I might have a histamine intolerance. So I just wanted to see a little bit more about where that may be coming from in my chart.
Yeah, so like your stomach and your digestion is in your will center. So again, that worries me a little bit because it's a defined center. Is your time of birth accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And so what's your self-confidence like?
Usually pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. And so are you doing things that you love to do? Like we were just talking with Jen before about like saying yes to things that you really wish you'd said no to and stuff like that?
No, I only usually say no to things that I want to do.
Okay. And so is there, like for me, like I would be looking into your gate 51 here, right? So you can Google Human Design Gate 51 and on Gate 25 and that channel. Right. Yep. And so that's where I would probably go and spend a little bit of time. Where is it showing up in your chart? Your north. How old are you, darling? Your south node?
26.
Okay. So you're still in your south node. So that's okay. Yep. These are lessons that you're here to learn. You're going to move away from them after time, like probably closer to 30 and 40. You're going to start to learn the lessons and move away from them. But that's just where the energy is sitting, and it's conscious and unconscious. And then your gate 25 is in your Saturn. So there's a lesson here. So there's lessons. So, I'm just painting a picture. Like none of this is, this is all just hearsay, but I'm just painting a picture here as to what could be happening because of the connection that you have, right?
Okay.
And so, even though like the sacral sit down here, people think, oh, is that your digestive system? It's like, no, that's more your reproductive organs. Your digestive system, I would say more is in your will center. So you want to have a look at this channel and those gates and where they're sitting and like why that's happening now, and so you're right in the middle of your Saturn return. Okay. And that's connected to gate 25 too, right? Which is going straight through from your purpose direction and, life and direction and purpose. And so that's another question is, do you feel like you're on the right path? You love your job? Like what interested you about coming and learning about this today?
Just sort of trying to understand me more and live the way I need to.
Yeah. And so the main thing is like the first, have you learned about human design at all before?
Yeah, I've done a little bit into it. Still learning though.
Are you connected to your strategy and your authority?
Not fully. I'm trying to more so.
Okay. So when anyone ever wants to like embody their human design, we have to start with strategy and authority. It's almost like the fuel to the car and the key to the car. You can't go anywhere without it. Oh, that's such a good analogy. Oh, I'm using that. That's exactly what it is, right? The strategy and authority is the fuel and the key. Like you can't go anywhere. You're like, yeah, but where am I going to drive? It's like, well, if you don't have fuel in the car, you don't have the key, you're not going anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
And so your strategy is to respond to something that lights you up, but then you have to inform people what you're doing. Okay. You have to tell people what you're doing. So that's why this is an extra layer that you have to understand about the generator and the manifesting generator, is that you're not just here to respond to things outside of you. So what do you do for work, hun?
I work in IT, looking after computer systems.
Okay. And so how does that light you up?
I just really enjoy it. Enjoy working with numbers and systems.
Yeah. And so like, that's probably not a bad thing actually, because you'd probably constantly be responding to a computer. Like there's something that's going wrong and you have to respond to that. So you're like, oh yeah. And it's so funny. You have gate 7. I call that my Google gate. So you've got that as well, which is like, when you come to me with a problem, I can find the answer for you. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So that's gate 7. That's your moon. So it's connected. It's very deep internal. It's just a wisdom that you have, a very wise wisdom that you have. Right. It may not be book logic. Right. It may not be book wisdom. It may just be a knowing. And so, yeah, like that's probably why you love it, because you feel like your generator has constantly been given things to respond to. And you're like, oh, yay. Where you may go off, like skew a little bit, is if you want to reinvent something, or if you want to change a system, right? Or you might go ahead and try and change something without telling someone, and then that doesn't work out very well, right?
Okay.
And so the main thing is because you would want to do things like yesterday. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. So you want to do things really, really quickly. And so when you make your mind up about something and it feels really good to go do something, you've got to tell the people that it's going to involve.
Okay.
Right. So if all of a sudden you want to go out for lunch with your girlfriends and you change the address without telling them, well, they're going to show up at the wrong place and be really pissed off. It's the same thing. Yep. You don't have to tell your Uncle Bob that you've changed the address, because he's not going to lunch, but you just have to tell the girlfriends that are coming with you.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So you've just got to, like, when you're informing as a manifestor or a manifesting generator, it's just informing the people that it's going to be involved.
Yeah, I think I need to do more informing.
Yeah, and that'll help. I mean, at the end of the day, like this energy goes straight up to your throat, like your single definition. So everything, I would say, if there's a blockage, it could be tracking back to still expression. You know what I mean? Like think of this like circuitry, electrical circuitry, right? See how it's connected here, and then it goes straight up through here. So you can look at gate 33, gate 13. This is around storytelling and listening. Okay, so I don't know, like, when I see gate 33, normally they're a really good storyteller or a really good writer.
Okay, I'm not really either of those.
Okay, well, that'd be really interesting to explore where that is in your life, because there's definitely a skill, or it may show up in a slightly different way for you. It may just show up, you know, having a drink with a girlfriend and just talking about life. Like my husband has gate 33, and I'm like, my husband does not write, and he doesn't do anything like that, but he will talk my ear off. He'll learn something and then want to regurgitate the whole thing to me. And I'm like, oh, that's where it is. Okay, I see it now.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Does that sound right? Okay. So, and this is, again, this is why it's hard for human design. And I hope that people are still watching this is going, okay, I get it now. It's like, it's not always what the book says. Sometimes it's going to show up in real life in a different way, but it's still, when you've been experimenting with long enough, you can realize that. Right. Yep. And it gives you just confidence to go like, oh, okay, that's where that is. And it's also your unconscious earth. So it's very, very significant around your purpose. So that's going to be really interesting for you. So I would, if you want to look at any gates, I would look at these top 4 around purpose, but not only that channel, not only the 2551, but also the 1333. And then expression. That's where it's getting stuck somewhere in there for your gut.
Sounds good.
Cool.
No worries. Thank you very much.
No worries. All righty. Is there any other questions? Shelley is talking. Oh. No? You're okay? Okay. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else in here. So that's the course again. So did anyone have any questions around I am? I'll talk a little bit more later about it. We don't have to dive into it now, but they're those things again. This for me, because I'd spent so long doing one-on-ones, I do one-on-one mentoring, but for people who really want to deep dive and expand and work on some pretty big stuff, this is going to help people get up to speed. So if people want to do, someone asked about the certification, if you invest in the I am course, this is actually also credit if you want to do that certification. So because I find that the only reason I'm giving you that discount to the certification is because people who have done my I am course get way more out of the certification because they've already embodied so much at a deeper level that when they want to go and learn it at a deeper level, then they can embody it so much more effectively. So that's another thing that's available to people who want to go do that. This is the last question. The last statement I had was the greatest medicine of all is teaching people how not to need it. And I truly feel like we can do this on a physical and a metaphysical perspective, right? I really, truly believe, I'm sorry if on the replay, if my face is covered over some of that quote, but I think our body's pretty phenomenal. I think it's pretty amazing how, you know, if we cut, I don't know if I broke my toe, but I definitely hurt my toe surfing last week. And I don't have to do anything about it. My body knows what to do. You can't put your toe in a cast. You just literally have to let nature do its thing. Okay. It's not twisted or ripped off or falling apart. Like that's trauma, of course. You know, medicine is amazing for trauma, but our body knows what to do. And so often we get in its way. We get in its way by sending bad thoughts to our body, by looking at ourselves in the mirror and sending bad thoughts to ourselves. Like there's that saying of like, be careful what you say to yourself because you're listening. You know, like and this is why I love to do the parenting module too, because we all have an inner child within us that needs to be reparented. And when we think about how we're talking to people, how we're talking to ourselves, would we ever speak like that to a child, right? Would we ever speak to that like that to someone else? And the answer is probably no. There's some beautiful things that I have been able to collect over years and years and years of studying and working with natural modalities, and mainly because I've been allergic to so many things. And I've had like these symptoms of autoimmune conditions where I just thought that it was genetic until I met Bruce Lipton. Has anyone heard of Bruce Lipton? He wrote a book called Biology of Belief. And then all of a sudden you understand about epigenetics, and you understand that it's not about our DNA at all. It's about the environment of which our body lives that causes our outcome. And that environment is made up of chemicals. It's made up of nutrients. It's made up of emotion, like signals, like electricity. And it's made up of thoughts. And so anything that I have found that works useful in my life, I want to give that back to the community, and I want to give it back in a way that's understandable, because I don't want you to have to spend 20 years to figure it out, right? I want that to be fast tracked for you. And so, you know, I love other things like EFT and things. So even if you're really struggling on something on a subconscious level, right? What I will give to you, the only thing that I could really highly recommend is, thanks, Cody. We're finishing up now. That's awesome. Brad Yates. He's on YouTube. The fastest way for us to dig out subconscious programming, which is so heavily conditioned in us throughout our human design and our health, I find is tapping, right? It really helps us to do that without thinking too much. The other thing I utilize is obviously the emotional and energetic properties of essential oils to work on an energetic, unconscious, metaphysical level. And then learning. I find learning and experience itself. Just because I'm a 1-3, that's the way that I need to process it. If you're a 4-6, you're going to do it really differently, right? If you're a 5-1, you're going to do it differently, okay? But these are the things that we can learn, and these are the things that we can embody. So this has ended up being like almost a 2-hour masterclass. But anyway, I hope that has been very, very helpful for people. Next week, we're going to go on to parenting. And so this will be a lot more interesting. It'll need a little bit more prep work for people too, because you're probably going to want to have 2 charts up, right? So you may have to work something out where you either create that graphic beforehand or we work something out so they're sitting side by side, because then I can see them and you, right? And that's when I can start to link things together. But yeah, it's going to be very, very similar things, but just talking to them through the lens of parenting and relationships Children, look at your one, Beth. So beautiful. Where can I get a copy of the emotions book linked in the doTERRA oil, please? Online. If you just type in essential emotions, capitals, emotions. That book, it'll come through a number of different websites and things like that. All right, if I have missed anyone's comments, I'm sorry. If you need anything else, unmute now or forever hold your peace. Thank you so much to everyone who has provided their information and wisdom. Adele, I can reach out to you about the certification too on the side, because I speak to each person coming into that one-on-one, so that'll be perfect. Yeah, and I will see you all next week. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I'm just going through the comments. Thank you. Big love. Bye.